I'm in Portland, Maine. It's late. I didn't get to play any pinball today. It's okay. We got episode 26 here of Coast to Coast Pinball, and we're going to do this. Let's go. Thanks for listening. This is Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is episode 26. This is a podcast, a commentary. I'm a man out of quarters. How's it going? It's Tuesday night, late Thursday morning, Wednesday morning, that is. See, I'm getting loopy. September 17th. How is everyone? I'm good. I'm out on the road working right now. If you don't know about my job, or you haven't caught any of that in previous podcasts, I am a factory rep, a sales rep, whatever you want to call it, for a acoustic guitar company called Taylor Guitars. And we do these week trips where we do these events called road shows, where we go to music stores, dealers of ours, and myself and a player, who right now I actually have a Grammy winner with me, which is fun, awesome guy, named Wayne Johnson. We go out and we do these performances where we present our guitars and give like a workshop event, sort of training session for the masses. And we sell guitars too. We have a ton of guitars with us, and it's a lot of fun. But I talk for 2 hours pretty much. I get up in front of a room full of people and talk. So I am quite sick of hearing my own voice. Teresa thought I was nuts and I needed to go to sleep. She's already going to sleep on the West Coast, and it's 1 a.m. here on the East Coast, and I'm up. But I want to talk about pinball. I love talking about pinball. I was talking to Wayne about pinball, and I don't think he really understood when I was like, yeah, so I host this podcast. And he's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, people listen to it. It's people are downloading it. I'm in the top 10 of all pinball podcasts right now, I think. Hard not to be. But yeah, so I'm on the East Coast. There's so much pinball around here, and I have no time because my days are slammed. Long drives, setup, and then these events go on, and it's late. I got to my hotel after midnight tonight, and I had started making notes for episode 26 last night, and then tonight I thought there's no way I can do this, but I'm going to. Maybe I'll stop and finish tomorrow, but that's not the goal. I want to talk about some stuff. What we're not going to talk about tonight, let's not talk about Star Trek. Had enough of that for now. So last night I stayed in a town called Littleton, New Hampshire, sort of on the New Hampshire-Maine border, up in north central New Hampshire, and I checked into my hotel. It was at a Hampton Inn, just a regular old Hampton Inn, and as I was checking in and eating cookies off the cookie tray, I was talking to the girl, and she said, the fitness room is open 24 hours a day, the pool's open until midnight, and the game room is open until 11. I was like, game room? And she said, yeah, game room. I'm like, do you have a pinball machine? And she said, yeah, I think there's one in there. And I was like, really? Do you know what it is? And she looked at me kind of puzzled, like, why do I care? Why would you want to know which one it is? And she said, I think it's a monster one. And I'm like, a monster one? I'm like, Creature from the Black Lagoon? And she's like, yeah, I think that's it. So I was like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to stay up all night. I'm going to play a ton of Creature from the Black Lagoon. And then I'm going to do a whole pinball podcast all about it. Not the pinball podcast, our friends Don and Jeff, but my generic pinball podcast called Coast to Coast Pinball for you. So I went to the game room, and it was not Creature from the Black Lagoon. In fact, it wasn't even a monster. It was Iron Man. Well, I already did a podcast about Iron Man, so I can't do that. But I did play it a bunch, and it was fully operational in actually fantastic shape. So if you find yourself at the Hampton Inn in Littleton, New Hampshire, go play the Iron Man. It was 50 cents a play. Everything worked. It was good times. I enjoyed it. Why am I so bad at that game? Why do I drain so hard on that game? Yikes, but it made me want a Stern. It really put it in my head that I need to own a Stern machine. There's just, different eras from different manufacturers have certain feels to them. Even back in the EM games, each manufacturer had their own flipper feel and whatnot. And you can definitely feel it in the 80s and 90s. And today, Stern just has this feel. And I would classify it as, normally strong flippers and then really strong slingshots. So the ball just slingshots so hard. And I've been playing a lot of Scared Stiff locally in San Diego, and then my games, my Demolition Man and my Twilight Zone. And none of those games have my Demolition Man has really hard slingshots, but the slingshots on this Iron Man were just ramped up to, so hard, shooting the ball all over the place. It's a whole other, kind of have to get a feel for it and anticipate what the ball's going to do, because it would just barely graze off the slingshot and get slammed to the side. But man, that's a fun game. It's a shame that game didn't do better than it did, and they didn't make a lot more of those. I think that, I know that they rehashed that kind of layout from Austin Powers, but I think they could do that again. And I know they'd catch a lot of grief for it at this point after we're seeing all the Star Trek rehash comparisons, which we're not going to talk about. But as we're not talking about Star Trek, did anybody see the photo layout on Pinside where somebody took the playfield layout to Spider-Man and laid the kind of the sketch of it over the new Star Trek playfield? Pretty funny. So, but we're not talking about that. Let's say I made some notes last night, stuff I wanted to kind of give on a rundown here at the start of the show. Hotels should have pinball machines. Do it. It was great. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I actually played it again this morning before I checked out. And in the replay was set really low on the game. It was at like 5 million, and I kept missing it last night. I think I was tired, so this morning I promptly got a replay and then promptly matched, and I walked away from that game with 2 credits in it. So that means I win or something. But anyway, let's see. Why is there no Los Angeles, Southern California pinball show going on right now? I know there's been stuff in the past, but why don't we have something now? And why didn't the Pinball Museum out in Banning happen? Why we need some love in Southern California. Somebody get back to me with that. I'll donate $5 or something. I just feel like I want to go to a show, and an expo's coming up next month, and I'm almost heartbroken that I can't go to Expo, because since I started this venture, this project, this commentary, this podcast, I've met some really cool people in the hobby, and I've actually talked to some people I don't know, how can I put this without, I don't want to say who they are, because I don't know that they're supposed to be talking to me, or want to know, I don't know if they want anybody to know that they're emailing and chatting with me, but I've met some people at some cool places in the hobby and in the business that have given me some great insight into some things and some great ideas and just some information too. And I want to go to Expo because they'll all be there, and I would love to talk and meet some of these people in person. And I can't go. I cannot go. It is impossible for me to do so, and that's a bummer. So I'm already looking at the calendar, tracking what I'm going to do next. And I have some ideas what to do when I get there. And I'm thinking we're going to do Coast-to-Coast Pinball booths at all the shows I go to. I think we're going to rent booth space, and I have some ideas for what we could do with that. So more on that soon. But I wish there was a Los Angeles or even a San Diego-based pinball expo show. We need to get on that. I listened to Pinball Soul's latest podcast. I listen to all the podcasts. I love the podcasts. I started this podcast because I like the other podcasts so much, and I just wanted more, and I figured there were some other people out there who wanted more. And I thought that I could do a little different style than everybody else is doing and contribute. But I did listen to the latest Pinball Soul and Josh Blood's podcast. It's really different than any other pinball podcast that's been done in that, I like his catchphrase towards the end. I think his announcer says is a conglomerate. Is that what it is? That's not the word he uses, but basically saying it's sort of a catch-all for everything relevant and exciting, newsworthy in the whole hobby. And he does a really good job of sort of just presenting stories to you. He's not a really super opinionated guy. He doesn't throw a lot of his feelings out towards every single topic. Not that he doesn't do any of it, but just not every topic. But I like that he covers podcasts, he covers the news, covers new games. He has his buddy Gene Wong, who does some out reporting for him. His interviews, I think, are very good. I really appreciate that he has the time and patience and does the interviews. It's something that I probably will do some interviews coming up soon. Actually, I have a few people I've talked with. It's not what I want to focus on, and I like the way Josh does them. I really enjoyed his interviews with the creator of Pinball Magazine, Jonathan. I thought those were great. And in this last episode, he did one with his kind of reporter friend, hobbyist Gene, which was, I thought, probably one of my favorite interviews, actually, because it's sort of like a real person, sort of in my perspective. I like hearing that. And then he also, what was the other interview? I'm blanking on what the other one was, but it was good. So listen to Pinball Soul, and he's kind enough to mention us on there, and I appreciate it. And Teresa got a kick out of another podcast playing a chunk of our podcast that she was on, and I'm like, but Teresa, you're on this podcast. She's like, yeah, but this is somebody else. So there, you made Teresa's day, Josh. Thank you. So that was good. So I listened to that on my flight out. listen to a lot of stuff. I've been listening to old Topcast episodes too. Clay Harrell's old podcast. Some of those interviews are great. The John Trudeau interview, I will say, if you're listening to this and you are thinking you wish you had even more, if you're sitting here saying, why is Nate taking so long getting episode 26 out, go listen to Topcast. There's hours and hours of stuff in there, and there's some great technical stuff. There's some funny stuff. But some of the interviews are really amazing, and I loved the John Trudeau interview that he did, and I think it's in the first 5 or 6 episodes of Topcast. It was amazing. I listened to that whole episode while in traffic jams in New York City, literally trying to get from New Jersey across Manhattan and into Long Island, and I listened to that whole interview, and it was just great. It made me want to go play Creature from the Black Lagoon, which the girl at the hotel got my hopes up for, and I did not get to play, so that's okay. Anybody else excited about Ben Heck's game, which was called Ghost Squad, but then was renamed America's Most Haunted? I'm excited about that. I think that what Spooky Pinball LLC is going to be doing in the next couple years is going to be pretty great. I think that they're sort of the underdogs, and they're playing it very smart. They're not promoting themselves real hard right now, and they're sort of letting it come to them. And what I've seen so far of some of the art and creative ideas on Ben Heck's game looks very cool. I know there's a thread going on about where he's at with that, and I think we'll see stuff at Expo. And then also, I mean, Pinball Zombies from Beyond the Grave. How cool is that from Charlie and Spooky Pinball? I'm excited about that. I'm actually more excited about that than I am what's next from Stern. So what is next from Stern? What are we going to see next? There's threads already all over the internet. Star Trek came out, yada yada, yay Star Trek. And the folks that were not enamored by that playfield or not into that theme are already saying, what is next? I know there are people who are saying unequivocally, it's The Walking Dead. It will be The Walking Dead. We're going to shoot our best friend. We're going to kill our zombie friends. Our wife's going to die after she gives birth by being eaten by a zombie. It's going to be fun for the whole family on The Walking Dead pinball game, right? No. And that, it doesn't have to be. I'm just kidding. I'm a huge fan of the Walking Dead TV show, and I think the graphic novels that the show is based on are amazing to look at. I don't read them all the way through or anything, but I do. Sometimes I'll pop into a comic book store, and in comic book stores should have pinball machines. By the way, I'm looking at you, comic book stores of the United States. But I love to flip through The Walking Dead. I think it's really neat. It's amazingly drawn. So I think you could do a great pinball out of that theme. I hope that is a Stern. I don't have any inside information on this one, but some people out there do talk like they know, and hopefully they do, because I think Walking Dead would be cool. I think that kind of dark, monstery theme just will be great. It won't be funny, I don't think. I'm pretty sure, but it could be very cool. Somebody started a thread, an open letter to Stern Pinball in the forum. This should be forum static, but I'm not making it forum static right now. I'm just mentioning this, that they made their case for a Rob Zombie theme, and I think we mentioned that here at one point as a possible idea for a theme. I think that could work. I don't know that he's universally appealing enough. Rob Zombie's a little too niche, I think. If this was the boom period and we were doing, right now, listen, we're talking 4 to 5 pinball machines released a year on a major scale. If we were more like 20 pinball machines a year, you could see that. I think that probably would get done, because that theme would be pretty awesome artistically and visually. But I don't think with Stern releasing 3 games a year, I don't think Rob Zombie is going to be on that list. I would be very, very surprised. So, maybe Game of Thrones, that's been brought up. I think we could see another music pin, but I don't think right away. I think there's going to be something else. Possibly another Marvel type thing. I don't know. I don't know what's on the docket. I know there's a Thor movie coming out. Are we going to see a Thor pinball machine? Thor was in Avengers, but so is Iron Man and others. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you think's next for Stern? Maybe we'll call the people this weekend when I have some free time, and we'll see what you'd like to have next from Stern Pinball. So get thinking about that, and maybe we'll do a call-in show on the weekend. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to dig through this mailbag.
Check the email.
I'm literally just going to start at the bottom of my my mailbox here and go through these. If I repeat any of these from the next episode, don't tell me. Let's just roll with it. Dylan wrote me and he said, "Hey man, just want to drop you a note after listening to episode 21 and your mention of Striker Extreme. Found one on location in Toronto a couple days ago. Got to play it for a bit. Top left flipper didn't have enough juice to hit the right ramp shot. Anyways, dig the podcast. Kind of shocked how much content you're putting out. Makes waiting for the other ones more bearable." I may have already read your email, Dylan, but if I did, you just got read again. So thank you very much. I'm shocked at how few episodes I've put out the last few days. I've been wanting to record, and I just haven't not had a chance to. So thank you. We're trying. I do. I want 2 to 3 a week. That's actually my goal. I don't like saying that out loud because when I don't do it, I feel like I failed, but we don't want that. Friend of the show, Joe Zenkus, who I believe is a friend of other shows too, which I appreciate. He said, "You totally read my email verbatim, but is your own comment." Yeah, I stole your thought, Joe. Clearly, that's what I do. You give me ideas, I steal them. And then he wrote in parentheses, "About people snatching up older titles by Steve Ritchie that cannot afford his latest Stearns. Are our brains merging?" I don't think you'd want to merge with my brain, Joe. I think that would be a bad thing. But yes, your email did influence me to say something about the fact that some of the top designers' older games that maybe weren't so highly thought of, I think those games are now being picked up. People are sort of going back and looking at roller games and things like that and saying, "Hey, this is cool." So yes, I stole your thought. I will continue to do so if you continue to email me. Warning. Daniel was alerting me, "Dude, there is a Doctor Who for sale on Pinside up in Fullerton. Every time you talk about Doctor Who and your new Dread, you make me miss mine. Good luck, bro. The podcast is awesome. Hit me up if you're in Sacramento. Cheers, Dan." And I wrote him back. I said, "Yeah, I saw that." And I let him know it was for sale by the same guy that I bought my Twilight Zone from. And if you listen way back in the early episodes when I bought my Twilight Zone, I had some issues with the game after I paid what I would say is top dollar for a game in the condition it was in. And the problems I had with it, I immediately let the seller know, and he dismissed me quickly. Did not seem to care, told me I needed to deal with it, and I was very put off by that because it was actually the second machine I had bought from this gentleman. And he cost himself a potential customer by not being just a little bit more customer service friendly and saying, "Hey, did you try this?" Or, didn't like his replies. So I kind of at that moment wrote him off as someone I would do business with again. He charges too much. Honestly, I waited him out and had to really drive the price down on the Twilight Zone because he was asking way more than even I paid. And his Doctor Who was way overpriced. And I'm not going to get into it again with him. And honestly, I think I sent him an email telling him that I didn't appreciate his attitude towards me, and he probably wouldn't want to hear from me anyway, so that's okay. And I'm fairly certain he knows about this podcast and knows he was mentioned on it, because there were some other emails floating around. That's okay. So thank you, Daniel. I'm still looking. I do want a Doctor Who. I really do. So hopefully we'll find one out there. John wrote me, "Hey Nate, I'm really glad to hear someone else willing to blaspheme in public about the Addams Family. Just because it's the best-selling machine in pin history doesn't automatically make it the best playing machine, does it? If popularity is a measure of quality, then MCDs make the best... Oh, Mickey D's makes the best hamburgers. Don't get me wrong, it's a fine machine, but it's not number one to me. It's not even in my top 10, if I'm being honest. Keeping it real, Nate." I kind of busted on the Addams Family, and I only bust on it from the fact that I don't think it's, for me and my personal playing style, it's not that fun. It's too crowded in the lower left. It is... I don't like the shots. The shots don't feel good. I always feel like I'm lucky when I hit some of the shots, whereas Twilight Zone, which is sort of a similar style layout and idea and mode-based game, the shots feel good. I really like the shots. I don't like some of the colors either on the Addams Family. I see it doesn't wear well in spots either. I know a lot of those are sold, but it was pretty groundbreaking, and it was a great looking machine at the time. It's just not. It's not probably not a top 10 for me either. It's probably not even a top 20 for me personally. But it's still highly sought after. People have fond memories of the Addams Family, and that's great. I'm glad they do. If you gave me a great deal on an Addams Family, I would absolutely own one. I'm not saying I wouldn't own one, but if I were doing my personal rankings, it wouldn't be a top 10 machine. Maybe top 20. Probably not, though. Not for me for fun. But I can be objective and say that there are some great things about that game. There's some amazing things about that game, really. Actually, I love some of the features. It does, as a package, I don't it's not fun for me to shoot on, I guess. So thank you for the email, John. All right, I read that one. Brendan wrote me this is a great email. It's sort of long, so I'm not going to read it. But he basically said, first off, I want to say how much I've enjoyed listening to your podcast after having discovered it a few weeks ago. Pinball podcast that is not only informative, entertaining, and in-depth, but also more frequent is a real blessing for pinball nuts. I appreciate that. Thank you. He basically said that he saw my views on digital pinball and felt the same way for a long time until he discovered Farsight's Pinball Arcade, and he really praises Farsight's work because he lives in Oklahoma, and he said it's really not a pinball mecca. There's not a ton of pinball to play there. They have Cactus Jacks now, which has been a refuge for him, and that's pretty awesome. But he really said that he appreciates the digital pinball scene in the pinball arcade, and he really invites me to come out and play at Cactus Jacks. And I really want to do that, so I got to get to Oklahoma because I have a great friend in Oklahoma who I haven't seen in way too long. So that will happen. Thank you for the very nice email, Brendan. Moving on through the mailbag. Steve Daniels. Steve, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be using last names, but sorry, I did once. Steve wrote, 1995 is my favorite year for pinball. I've owned 14 games over the last 6 years or so, and I got into collecting 3 currently, and 4 of them were made in 1995. He's had Dirty Harry, Congo, Attack from Mars, and Indianapolis 500. He still has the Attack from Mars and Indy 500, and Congo's a friend of his. Attack from Mars is his favorite game of all time. Nicely restored. His example is nicely restored, and he's appointed himself the official internet expert on Indy 500. So if you need info on Indy 500, please don't come to me. Go find Steve. So I think that he started the thread, Indianapolis 500 owners thread, everyone else welcome on Pinside. So I appreciate the email, Steve. 1995 was a very fun year to go through. It took me a lot of episodes to get through it, but it was fun. There's a lot of great games in that, a lot of innovation in that year. That was a neat year to go through. And we will go in depth on Attack from Mars soon. That's going to happen. So thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that. Joe wrote me again and said, talking about reissue Williams games. He said, the issue on reissue Williams games isn't the licensing, it's production facilities. And like as I discussed, someone like Jersey Jack could do it, or Stern, but basically he's saying somebody would have to, in a nutshell, I guess what his argument here on trying to do reissue games is that you'd have to have somebody who's already capable of building a lot of games. Would Jersey Jack, want to do that? He likens it to if Pontiac Aztecs, which may be the ugliest vehicle ever built, blew up in popularity all of a sudden now that they're long gone and started selling like $40,000 for a used one, and Hyundai got the rights to build them, would they be willing to build new ones from scratch? No, of course they wouldn't, because they want to design their own cars and do their own thing. And he's saying it's the same thing in pinball. And I think to a very large degree, he's right. I don't think Jersey Jack's going to want to go say, hey, we're going to build Medieval Madness now. Medieval Madness is this great pinball machine that's so highly valued. We're going to build a redo of it. And I think he's right. And I think when times were sort of desperate in the pinball scene, that Stern probably could have maybe cashed in on some of that. Although those games really started jumping up in price now that I think there's been sort of a resurgence in sales for Stern's games that they are producing, so maybe they don't need to. I don't know. I guess it's just I get bummed out when I see games that were so cool and so great that came out late in the day. And I'm not even talking about the really rare ones like Big Bang Bar and Cactus Canyon, but even a game like Champion Pub, which I just think is so great, had a really limited run because it came out at a time when the technology and the build of the games was top-notch, best it ever had been, but the industry was down. And so there just wasn't a lot of call for the games and a lot of places to sell the games. So anyway, he makes a great point. I don't disagree with you at all, Joe. And thanks for chiming in on that. Mojo Logos wrote me. Actually, Mojo, I think, is his business name, possibly. Nick wrote me, said, hey, another great show. I'm a graphic designer, and your podcast really helps me get through my days at work. Wanted to say thanks. Quick love for the forum static segment. Keep that up. Also, I really appreciate your bumper music in between segments. And as I read this email, I knew exactly what he was going to say, because I've had this thought many times. He says, I find myself thinking, what was that one? Some I recognize and some I don't. Didn't know if it was possible and not too much extra work to list the ones you used on your blog. I have a blog on Coast2CoastPinball.com. Like if they were from a pinball machine or a cool nerdcore band, that kind of stuff, just a thought. And so, Nick, I think I replied to him, and I'll tell you the same thing that I told Nick. I should have started doing that from the very beginning. I have already sort of kicked myself for not putting the music I used in all the shows in the show notes. And there is no way I'm going back and trying to figure out what all of it was. The majority of the time on the shows, I pull music from a game that is talked about or highlighted in the show and use that music. There have been a few shows where either I was having trouble finding the music I was looking for, or I was really, really, really tired and just needed to get the darn thing posted and up online. So I grab sort of generic pinball music. I grab pinball music from maybe some 80s pinball video games. Sometimes I've used, for instance, last episode we were talking about Star Trek, and I used, this is 2 episodes ago I think, I don't remember now, but I used theme music from the movie Star Trek Into Darkness. So there's a tie in there. I try to make it make sense and tie in. I should have put it in the notes from the beginning, and I didn't. So now I don't really want to. But I'll consider starting to do it. Because I think that probably is something, if I keep doing this thing for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more years, I'll wish I had. If for no other reason, I can go back and look to see what I have already done so I don't repeat things. Because there are a few where the music used especially some of the early episodes, is a game I just briefly talked about, but that's music that I really liked in a game, so I used it. But someday I'll probably hit that game and do, an in-depth thing on that game, and I want to use that music. Then I'll have to decide, do I use the music again? Probably so. I could just use all Pearl Jam and be done with it. That's my other option, right? No, I won't do that to you guys. But I knew somebody was going to bring that up. So Nick got me on that one. So thank you, Nick. Appreciate you listening. Let's see. Where else are we? Craig. Oh, this is the guy, Craig. Craig wrote, hey, man, enjoy the podcast. I'm local, so he's in the San Diego area, and I've been looking for a Twilight Zone for quite a while. Though I'd rather buy instead of trade, I'd be willing to offer up a getaway, jackpot, or break shot for partial trade. I'd also give you first dibs in buying back the Twilight Zone if I go to sell. And I wrote him back, hi Craig, not looking to let my Twilight Zone go. Maybe not ever. It's my all-time favorite. Thanks for listening. So, won't be making that trade. I'm very happy with my Twilight Zone, and I've dialed it into where I really like it. So Craig, find one. Do it, man. It's great. You'll love it forever and ever and ever. Trade all 3 of those games if you have to. Actually, don't do that, but you might. So, Jackpot would be cool. I would like to own a Jackpot. That'd be very neat. Next. Brian. Brian asked if I'd seen the fire on the Jersey Shore a few days ago, and he was wondering if that was near Asbury Park where the Silver Ball Museum is, and I let him know that was about 20 minutes farther south down the shore. So nothing lost there. We're all set there. John wrote me, Nate, great job. I like the phone-in part. Nice to hear different people's opinions. Also like the in bed with Teresa. I smell a contest. LOL. Keep up the good work. I check every day for new episodes. John, I smell a contest too. I think it would be great to do an in bed with John from New Jersey contest. So one of the one of the podcast listeners here, Coast2Coast Pinball listeners, can win a chance to get in bed with John from New Jersey. I think that's a fantastic idea. Let's get right on that. Shall we? Let me know, John. I'm all open, ready for that contest. And then Dan wrote, just got home from my maiden trip. I'm confused. I have to read this again. Oh, he went to see Iron Maiden. Dan went to see Iron Maiden in Vegas, I believe. I was checking out the last few episodes on the plane. If an Iron Maiden LE is going to happen, and be $10,000, I'm done. I'd have to sell all 3 of my current pins. It's awesome, and it also stinks that your favorite band might have a pin in the works. We met Yannick Gers, Maiden guitarist, in Vegas. I should have asked him about the pin. Oh well, too crazy about meeting him. The new call interviews are awesome. Cheers, bro, Dan. So Dan's thinking Iron Maiden could be the next pin. Maybe. Are they going to make an Iron Maiden pinball? Will somebody tell me that? Will somebody listening from Stern? I'm only assuming that somebody's listening from Stern. Will somebody please tell me if you're making an Iron Maiden pinball? I won't even mention it on the show until it's confirmed. I just kind of want to know. It's a good question. That's what we need to do. We need to go run down some of the Iron Maiden guys and ask them, so how's your pinball machine coming along? Don't say, are you making a pinball machine? You need to walk up to one of them and say, so how's the pinball machine coming? And see what reaction you get. Do it. Report back. You'll win a prize. If somebody does that and can prove it, you'll win a prize from me. And no, it will not be to take part in a segment in bed with Teresa. That will not happen. No contest for you. That's the mailbag. I know there's some Facebook messages. There's some Pinside messages. I think there's even some Twitter direct messages. You really got to email me here at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com, because that's how I do the segment on the podcast. So keep them coming, though. Love to hear from you guys. I appreciate all of that. I've been getting suggestions here and there on Facebook and in emails, people giving me ideas for Welcome to the D-List titles, our little segment where we take some of the pins that failed miserably for whatever reason, and we talk about them. It's the D-List. There's A-list games, there's B-list games, there's a lot of C-list games, and then there's the D-List. And I'm not saying these are bad games. I'm saying these are games that were not popular, or were bad games, or whatever. And I sort of use a couple different things. I use production numbers. I use Pinside rankings is a big one. Anything that's in, the bottom after ranking 200 is probably a D-list game, likely. So this game has been on my radar for a little bit, and we're going to talk about it. So let's hit this one up.
Welcome to the D-List.
Welcome to the D-List, Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Pat Sajak and Vanna White. Stern, 2007. They just released Spider-Man. Spider-Man was like the breakthrough game in a lot of ways. It really was awesome. It sort of set in motion, I think, what became a good run of games shortly following. But we had to have Wheel of Fortune come out in October of 2007. They only built about 1,000 of these by the best reports we can find. This is a Dennis Nordman design. This theme is tough because you're trying to make a theme for a pinball machine based on a TV show game that the average age of viewership is over 60 years old. You're also trying to incorporate a game with a giant spinning wheel and a board where they turn letters around into a pinball machine. So you got to have a giant spinning wheel in the game, right? They do. You got to have some sort of board. They did it on the DMD. But how do you do it, right? It's sort of awkward. No, there's no cool Vanna White moving across the board or anything. Vanna White on a stick, like the Rolling Stone game with Mick Jagger. That'd be kind of fun. No, it wouldn't. And I gotta say, this game's definitely D-list, but I like this game. I think this game's got some charm to it. Now, let's be real clear. The cabinet art is atrocious. Horrible. Horrible. Try much? No, you didn't try at all. Stern, looking at you. The playfield is like Rainbow Bright threw up all over the place. I don't even know what to say about the playfield. It's so colorful, it hurts my face to look at it. I feel like my face burns off a little bit every time I stare at the playfield. But it's not altogether like horrible or unattractive for what it is. The plastics above the playfield all match perfectly, so when you look at it from back, it's sort of just this rainbow mishmash of colors. But I get it. It's a TV show theme. It's It's a tough one. I don't know what you do. If you pitch this to me as a theme, I would not be pleased. But I think they did a good job. So let's look at Wheel of Fortune for what it is. The way they handled it is they gave you 3 players, and these 3 players are like little bobblehead dolls in the back of the game. And these 3 players' names are Lonnie, Maria, and Keith. And I'll tell you right now, I don't like Keith. Keith Johnson from Chicago, I don't trust you. You creep me out a little bit. I kind of hate the characters. They made the guys really wimpy and lame and sound dumb throughout the game as you play. But whatever, that's fine. So you shoot the characters, and they guess letters for the puzzle. They always guess right, I believe. I haven't played this game a whole lot, but I believe every time you shoot one of them, they guess letters that are actually in the puzzle. Some of the puzzles are stupid. I'll say this. This game was so aimed at United States only, because first of all, Wheel of Fortune didn't air in some of the biggest pinball markets for like the last decade, or at least, last 5, 6, 7 years before this game came out. So definitely a U.S. aimed game. Some of the puzzles are, it's like Dover, Delaware is the answer to the puzzle, or Athens, Georgia. It's just too USA specific, but whatever, that's fine. There's some layout things in this game that were very interesting, and I see, Dennis Nordman had some good ideas. One thing I don't really care for is this has the sort of wide flipper build with a middle post there. And to be successful playing Wheel of Fortune, you have to learn to use this middle post. You have to let the ball bounce off that middle post a lot. It's an extra wide drain section, but you have the middle post to save you. And the center drain is actually split into 2 sections where you can have bonuses lit on one side or the other. So sometimes it behooves you to nudge your ball to drain one side or the other, if that makes any sense. The out lanes are also split. Think Silverball Mania. That had split out lanes, I think. They do something pretty neat on this game is you earn free spins, like in the game Wheel of Fortune, you can earn free spins through certain shots and through wheel spins. They will light the out lanes to save your ball and give you another ball. That was pretty clever. I like that. The split flipper, out lane design thing, or center lane drain thing, harkens back to some short flipper designs that Gottlieb did way back when. I think Buckaroo is sort of the famous one that comes to mind when you look at this sort of layout. So this wasn't some groundbreaking idea, but for a modern DMD game, never been seen before and never been seen since. Likely won't be seen again, I would guess. Interesting stuff, though. You do have to learn how to nudge this game to be successful. It really encourages a lot of nudging. There's a DMD in the playfield also. There's a short, small DMD right in the center of the playfield that scrolls through different things. And that's sort of used in conjunction with the standard DMD. This was, I believe, if I'm not totally mistaken here, the first of the Stern DMDs in the back box that split the screen into, the third was the left side, which has your scoring, and then the 2/3 to the right was sort of your animations and your call-outs, and on this game it's your puzzles that you're solving. So this was really the start of that for Stern. It plays okay. It's a very start and stop. This game has a ton of start and stops. Multi-ball's pretty easy to get to. You can get, as you hit the players, you light one player, and those players will have certain attributes or bonuses that will be awarded if you solve the puzzle using that player. So there's actually quite a bit of strategy to this game. They call out the wizard mode right on this game, and to achieve the wizard mode, you have to solve 4 puzzles, you have to hit a super jackpot during Wheel of Fortune multi-ball, and you have to complete all the, I forget what they call them, bonus challenges, I think. There's all these bonus modes on this game, and you do those things all together, and then you go into their wizard mode. So there is definitely some progression through this game. This game seems, it's funny, when I read reviews of this game or hear people talk about this game, a lot of guys think, it's okay, but my wife loves it. Or, my girlfriend really likes this game. So for whatever reason, this game plays really well to the female pinball playing crowd. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the sexy Pat Sajak on the back glass. Vanna White looks pretty good, I will say this. Vanna White, I think they used a 10-year-old photo of her, but that's okay. Totally understand. Now, I'm just looking pretty good on the back glass. So it's got some ramps. It's got some plastic, like kind of, ball trails off the ramps. The big wheel's pretty cool. Actually, the light show on this game is pretty good. When the lights darken for the one multi-wall mode and the wheel is lit up and the red inserts are lit, that actually looks pretty nice. I like some of this game. It's just such a weird, concept for a game in the beginning. So there's not many of them out there. None have been sold on eBay this year. There's not been one of these pop up and sell on eBay, so they are fairly rare. I think that it's a good family pin, and people who buy this game probably end up just keeping it. I think there is some replay value on this game. I think it's a good multiplayer game. Cost on this game looks like the best I can see is you're going to pay between $3,000 and $4,000 for a Wheel of Fortune in good shape. I've seen a few that were listed less, but they were pretty beat up. But it's not a game that when I played it, it didn't jump out to me as one of those cheap feeling Sterns, but you may argue that. Some of the games you play them and it doesn't feel good. Wheel of Fortune didn't feel like that, but I have only played this game a couple times, to be quite honest. It does have inline drop targets, which I do love. I think that's a neat feature. That's over on I believe the right side of the playfield. So you can you can get free spins, big money, etc., etc. So inline drop targets are a plus in my book. The light show's pretty neat. You can kind of see what you're supposed to be doing. It has a really difficult skill shot to judge. What I do like on this game is when you plunge the ball, it starts a toss-up thing. Like if you ever watch Wheel of Fortune, which I'll be brutally honest, Teresa and I, we go through phases where we watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy all the way through and sort of play each other. And I'm really good at Wheel of Fortune. It drives Teresa nuts that I can solve a Wheel of Fortune puzzle with very few letters on it. But anyway, a toss-up puzzle is one where it just starts and all three players can guess the puzzle as letters just are turned automatically. You're not spinning to get the letters. And so when you plunge the ball and start the game, a toss-up puzzle starts counting down, and you're really just trying to hit the lock ball shot. You'll find yourself watching the puzzle, though, as the puzzle fills in, which is not what you want to do. You want to hit the lock ball shot. So there's sort of a conundrum here because you're trying to, watch this DMD and sort of play the Wheel of Fortune game, but really you're just playing pinball. So it was sort of a balancing act. I think Dennis Nordman did a pretty remarkable job of integrating the theme into the pin. It is not popular. It is the number 205th ranked game on the Pinside Top 100, 200, 300. I think that's sort of because a lot of people have never played it, and it just looks like a rainbow mess of fortune wheels, if that makes any sense. Rainbow Mess of Fortune Wheels. That may be the title of the show. So that's Wheel of Fortune. Welcome to the D-List. Enjoy the company. You've got some good friends. You and Mario should hang out. You should show Mario a thing or two about gameplay. And I hope you enjoy it. So if you find one out in the wild, let me know where it is. So if I ever run across it, I can play it again. But yeah. That's all. That's episode 26. We ran long on episode 25. I'd never done a show over 50 minutes before, and episode 25 went long. Started calling the people, and it just got crazy. So we're going to do that again. That's going to be fun. I got to not do it at 2 in the morning. There may be nobody to call except Australians, which is okay. I'm quite fine with the Australians, but so be it. I appreciate you listening. If you'd like to get a hold of me, I would encourage you to email me at my email address, which is Coast Pinball at gmail.com. That's the best way. You can feel free to find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Coast2Coast Pinball. We're on Twitter at C2C Pinball. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podcast Garden is where I host the show. It's been a pretty reliable host so far. I do apologize to those of you who, when you download the MP3 versions of the show, the name of the show doesn't transfer for some reason. I have a tech call in on that. I don't know why it happens. I do name my MP3s when I upload them to the server, but when they get re-downloaded to you guys, it's coming up as a jarbled mess and you have trouble keeping them in order. I apologize. I would encourage you to put a good podcasting app on your phone and play them that way. But I know some of you guys are downloading them onto mobile MP3 players and stuff, so I will try and figure that out. The one thing I would do, I've had other podcasts that did this to me in the past, download the show and just quickly rename it, episode 25, 26, 27, whatever. Hey, I appreciate things. Go to our website, www.coast2coastpinball. Check out the blog. We have an image gallery. I look forward to episode 27 in the next few days. Talk to you guys soon. Be safe. Take care.